In December 2021, we spent a few days at Harlyn Bay in North Cornwall. This video logs some of the windy winter walks we undertook during our stay. The edge of the beach at Harlyn Bay. We stayed in the Croft, one of the bungalows whose gardens lead down to the beach. It was a magnificent location. We did 6 walks. These will follow after this introduction, but you can jump to a particular walk by selecting it in the contents list below. The first 5 walks, shown here, are close to Harlyn, but the final one is a little further south, around St Agnes. On our first day, we planned to go to Padstow. We walked past Trevone Bay and then realised we'd dropped a walking pole, so turned back to look for it. Later, we took a shorter walk east past Trevose Head to Booby Bay before returning along the north of the golf course and along the coast path. We used the road bridge to cross the stream feeding into Harlyn Bay, then crossed the edge of the beach to the coast path. Looking west over the bay, Trevone Bay. Porthcothan Bridge from Roundhole Point. And from the north, it's home to some gulls. Pincushion Moss. It's here I realised a pole was missing, so we turned back to search. After lunch, we head west to Trevose Head, looking back and out over Mother Ivy's Bay, the lifeboat station, the Stone Chat, Trevose Lighthouse, Dinas Head. The tide is in at Booby's Bay, near Catclew's Point, and the final stretch back to our cottage. Our second walk started at Little Petherick and followed the Saint's Way along the creek to the Camel Trail at the edge of Padstow. We headed east along the Camel Trail to Old Town Creek, then went south to St Issy. The waterlogged path from St Issy to Mallingy caused us to double back and use the road before taking the final section of path back to Little Petherick. We head north out of Little Petherick along All Saints' Way. This path follows the left side of Little Petherick Creek. Initially, we pass through woodland, but this gives way to open pasture. Dennis Hill and the obelisk we're heading for. It's wet and slippy in places. As we climb, we see where the stream we crossed joins Little Petherick Creek. The old rail bridge where the Camel Trail crosses the creek. The river Camel is beyond it. an historical tidal lagoon, once used to harness tidal power to drive a flour mill. The obelisk, built in 1887 to celebrate Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee. Padstow ahead. We skirt around the lake in Dennis Cove. Then head south along the Camel Trail. The old rail bridge over Little Petherick Creek. Old Town Cove. The River Camel opposite. We leave the Camel Trail at the cove and head south towards St Issy. We don't take the road, but use a footpath over the fields. It's a bit wet. St Issy ahead. St Issy Church.
Yeah.
The path goes through the farmyard and then becomes a bog. So we turn back and use the road instead to reach the final path section to Little Petherick. The church and our car in the car park. Our third walk was the one we'd planned to do on the first day. We took the coast path from Harlyn Bay to Trevone Bay and followed the coast on to Stepper Point. From Stepper Point we headed up Padstow Bay to the War Memorial outside Padstow, and from there we took the path inland and returned via Crugmere to Trevone Bay. The final leg was back along the coast to Harlyn Bay. We leave our cottage, cross the stream and take the coast path. Gulls, Gullard Rock, back to Harlyn Bay and forward to Stepper Point. It was a wild, windy, showery day with foaming seas. Trevose Bay. Merrup Island and Gunver Head. A sunny spell. Gunver Head and the view to Gullard Rock. Stepper Point ahead, and we buffeted by the strong winds. Up to Daymark Tower on Stepper Point, and the wind becomes intense. We leave the Daymark Tower, taking the higher path along the Camel Estuary, looking up the estuary. The woods behind Harbour Cove are windy and wet underfoot, but we managed to get through with dry feet. I marvelled at the skills of the windsurfers in the high wind in Harbour Cove. Padstow War Memorial, our lunch stop. After lunch, we head inland to Prideaux Place with Padstow on our left. We take the track north and then the footpath northwest to Crugmere. From Crugmere, we follow the track back to Trevone. The conditions remain wild as we head back to Harlyn Bay. And there's our destination and our cottage. Our fourth walk was a linear walk from Watergate Beach to Porthcothan. We started at Porthcothan and took the bus to Watergate Bay, then walked back north along the coast path. Porthcothan Beach, the bus stop, and the bus to Newquay. It was raining heavily as we travelled south.
It's like a bit of a steep path to come down.
But fortunately, it had stopped by the time we reached the Watergate Bay Hotel. We climbed up beside the hotel and on to the coast path. Magnificent views south towards Newquay and north towards Stem Point. Watergate Beach. Watergate Bay from Stem Point. Beacon Cove. More rain as we approach Morganporth. The beach.
Morganporth Beach.
And the climb past Trenance. More showers coming in. North from Trenance Point. Pendar's Island. The Druthen Steps. An intricate wall. Pentire steps. The turbulent weather gave us ever-changing light shows. High Cove. The final section to Porthcothan. Trescore Islands. And again from Porthmere. They're being battered by the sea. Porthcothan Bay and beach.
Here we are. back at our start point.
Our next walk is to the east of Padstow Bay. We begin at Polzeath, go around Hale Bay and follow the coast path past Pentire Point and around as far as Lundy Hole. We then head inland past Porthcothan to Roserow before taking the footpath west to Polzeath. Polzeath and the steps to the coast path around Hale Bay. Rabbits are in residence. Looking back to Stepper Point and in the distance Trevose Head. Hale Bay. Petherick and Polzeath. Pentire Point ahead. The cattle seem at ease with the steep gradients. Newlands from Pentire Point. And a seat for a coffee stop next to the plaque where in 1915 Lawrence Binyon penned the famous words, "They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old," and so forth, whilst overlooking the Rumps. We continue towards the Rumps. The Rumps. Past them is Porthcothan Bay. Looking back towards the Rumps, the vegetation is a lovely mixture of colours.
Heading towards Lundy Hole.
Lundy Hole ahead. And here it is. We leave the bay behind and head inland. Porthcothan Bee Centre, from where we take the road and then the path to Roserow. The path from Roserow goes alongside the golf course, through some woods and back to the beach at Polzeath. Our final walk was around St Agnes. We began in Trevone Cove and took the coast path west past St Agnes Head. At Carngola we took the path inland over St Agnes Beacon and back to St Agnes. From there we headed east, then took the path north to Blue Hills before returning to Trevone Cove. It was a cold, blustery morning, but not cold enough to deter hardy swimmers in the cove. We leave Trevone Cove and climb up the coast path. The view back towards Perranporth. We head west and soon reach St Agnes Head. About half a kilometre further, we take the path inland towards St Agnes Beacon. and climb up to the trig point. It's a bit breezy. St Agnes ahead. The road east out of town. The track north and over the stream to the path to the coast at Trevose Porth. The Blue Hills Tin Mine. Trevose Porth. The climb up Blue Hills. And down to Trevonance Cove. The end of the walk.